AWS Local Zones are a great tool for increasing performance and resiliency. So it's really important to make sure your east-west traffic routing is actually efficient. Local Zones have been rolling out to major cities across the globe and are built to deliver ultra-low latency applications like media workflows or medical imaging. So the AWS parent regions have every AWS service, but local zones are trimmed down to provide the core AWS services needed for those high performance workloads. But the thing is, connecting local zones together isn't as straightforward as you'd think. Local zones, even in the same metro, are connected to their parent region over the AWS backbone, but not directly to each other. This means the network path between local zones is actually hairpinning through the parent region, in some cases adding 10 times the latency you'd expect. Last year, AWS came to us with a use case for a customer that required data replication between local zones to support their resiliency and performance requirements. So for example, transactional data replication between local zones in Dallas and Houston. This traffic flow has to go from the Dallas local zone to the US East parent region in Virginia, then back down to the Houston local zone, taking almost an 80 millisecond hit of latency, which sort of defeats the purpose of using local zones in the first place. Now, in theory, you could interconnect local zones over internet gateways, but there are many variables depending on where those local zones are. And it's a connection over the public internet. The other option is to build a private connection between the two local zones using AWS Direct Connect service that rides on Megaport's network. You can deploy what's called the Megaport Cloud Router, or MCR. This is a virtual routing platform that lets you connect services at the cloud edge without needing any physical hardware or even data center presence. The MCR can be deployed within the geographic area to both of your local zones. And by provisioning direct connects to the local zones, you've basically built a low latency private interconnect without needing to hairpin through that parent region. This cuts your latency by about 10 times, in this case from 80 milliseconds down to 8 milliseconds. And because Megaport's network is software defined, you can scale the bandwidth from 10 megabits all the way up to 10 gigabits per second on demand at any time. At the end of the day, if you're making the investment in local zones for low latency, make sure your network is optimized to actually meet those latency and resiliency requirements. Otherwise, you're just paying for performance that's not actually delivering the results you need. So I hope this was helpful. And if you want more details, I wrote this blog with AWS. Or if you're going to AWS reInvent, make sure you stop by the Megaport booth on the expo floor. See you next time. Ciao.